Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. On behalf of Fuse Des Moines, your Chamber of Commerce, I'm Daniel McCrane. Just to make sure you have arrived at the right session, this is Get Over Your Midwestern Humility and Talk Yourself Up with Sally Cooper Smith. It's my pleasure to introduce Sally Cooper Smith this morning. She specializes in marketing and business strategy for small businesses. She works with founders and entrepreneurs to grow their businesses through more effective branding, advertising, and communications, online and off. As president and creative director of Cooper Smith and Company, the marketing and design firm she founded in 1993, her studio's work has been published internationally and received numerous regional and national awards in competitions from the Academy of Interactive and Visual Arts, the American Advertising Federation, the Art Directors Association, and the American Marketing Association. Ms. Cooper Smith graduated with honors from Iowa State University, where in 2011 she was granted their prestigious Design Achievement Award. Sally continues to be involved with her alma mater, serving on the advisory board to the Department of Graphic Design. Sally brings her experience in branding, communications, marketing, and business management to the boards that she works with, having served in the past as president of the Des Moines Symphony Ambassadors, the Civic Music Association, the Art Directors Association of Iowa, and Ballet Des Moines. Sally is a member of the Rotary Club of Des Moines AM and volunteers her time as a mentor for the University of Iowa's Venture School program and ISU's Sci Starters. I will also mention Sally has offered to take questions as they come, so please enter questions in the chat and we will be helping to moderate those and pass those to Sally as she presents this morning. So please, would you help me welcome Sally Cooper Smith?
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's so great to be here today. I recognize some names. I wish I could see all your faces. Thank you so much for coming this morning. Yes, a little bit deeper level about me. I did found this company in 1993. If you do the math, that means that I've had this place for more than 25 years. In that period of time, I've been through the ringer, lived through not a pandemic until now, but just about everything else. So I've got a little perspective on the good times and the bad. And that's one of the things that I want to talk with you about today. Not the bad, but how to get past a couple of the limitations that we have right now. And that's surrounding the fact that if we're working from home or we're not necessarily in the same kind of work environment that we were 8-9 months ago, how do we make the impressions that we need to make to be able to move forward in our lives and our work? Let me share my screen with you here. And let's get started. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it that way. Let's do it this way. There we go. And we're on. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to get over our Midwestern humility and talk ourselves up. As Midwesterners, we are reticent to brag about ourselves or to toot our own horns. But it's really important that you learn how to get credit and recognition for the good things that you've done so that you can accomplish the success and create the future that you want to have. You've worked so hard, and it's okay to be recognized for it. I am having a devil of a time with this. There we go. Today's goal is to be able to show you some ways to show up as your gracious and genuine self to get the credit and notoriety you deserve.
Sally, we're having some trouble seeing your screen. It just shows up as black on our side.
Oh, how strange. Okay, we'll stop share. Let's see if we can try it again. Are
There
you
we go.
seeing it? Got it that time? Cool. Are we there?
We're
Still
there.
there?
Thank you. Yep. That's
Okay.
great.
All right. How curious. Okay. So the first step, just going back. So just going back, we're going to teach you some tricks to get the notoriety and the credit that you deserve moving forward. Not taking you out of your comfort zone. I want you to be able to be your genuine self. I just want you to be able to grasp the wonderful things that there are about you and be able to work them into conversations. So the first step is to start to think about what kind of impression do you want to make on people? If you're looking to kind of toot your own horn, what song is it you're going to sing? Do you want people to remember that you are creative or thoughtful? Do you want them to know that you're a great coach, that you're intuitive and empathic? All of those different brand qualities, as it were, are what comes into this first question that you ask yourself. What impression is it you hope to make? Whose radar do you need to be on? In other words, if you want to move forward in a particular way, if there are things you want out of life, you're trying to increase your circle of friends, you're trying to move up in a position in the company, you're trying to find a new position in a new career, or perhaps connect with mentors who can move you forward in other ways. Who do you need to be in front of, and or who do you need to make an impression upon? Not just today, but 6 months down the road, a year or 2 years down the road. And what can you work with? In other words, what information is there about yourself that you can use to help tell your story in order to help people understand that brand impression that you're wanting to make? To help you do that, to help you know what do you have to work with, I've got, I think it's 12 questions here that you can ask yourself to start to mine your own past and figure out what have you got to work with. And it may seem a little funny as we go through this, but once we're through these questions, I'll show you how you weave these answers together to start to create a more memorable set of talking points when you talk to somebody. The whole thing about getting over your humility and talking yourself up is simply being able to be memorable when you talk to someone. For instance, if I say, hi, my name is Sally, I own a graphic design and marketing agency, it's pretty forgettable. But if I say, hi, my name is Sally, I own a graphic design and marketing firm that I started 25 years ago, and when I started it, I was the only woman owning an ad agency alone, not with my husband, not with other partners, in the entire state of Iowa. It's more memorable. So we're going to go through some of those, some prompts for you here to get at some of those things for yourself. This first one, what are the 10 most interesting things you have done or that have happened to you? Obviously, I just used the example for myself of starting my business. Make a list of those 10 things, not just career-wise, but it can be vocational or experiential, the most interesting things you have done. And it can be tiny, but it has to have been interesting, at least to you. What would you or others say are 5 of your personality pluses? Are you the funny one? And do you have a great sense of humor? Are you the one that always remembers everyone's birthdays? Are you an amazing cook? And your sort of palate, sense of foods and entertaining, and is that part of your personality plus? Make a list of 5. And if you're not sure, ask others. Sometimes the perspective here is super valuable. What do you do for a living, and how did you end up doing it? Not just what do you do, but what was your path to get there? What do you like or love about your current job or career? Where's your passion point in it? How does your job or career use your skills and talents? And what are you doing right now that best showcases them? So think in terms of your abilities and then what you're doing. It's very much 2-part. If, say, for instance, your skill and talent is organization, you're a fabulous project manager. What are you doing right now that's tapping into that? When you're at a transition point and you don't love your job, some of these job career questions can be difficult. But if you dig a little bit deeper into what it is you do well and what you are doing, or maybe you have recently done, that takes advantage of those, you're going to start to get to the heart of something and be able to tell the kind of story you want to tell about what you're really good at and what you love doing. What career success are you most proud of having accomplished? If you're just starting out, straight out of school, you may not have a lot behind you, but you've got educational successes that can substitute here. What training or education have you completed? And what did you gain from that? It's one thing to say, I have a master's in law, and it's another to tell the story of why you chose that. What was it about that degree that lit you up? Was there a professor that you particularly loved? What were there friends or contacts that you gained from those experiences? Did you fall in love with the town that the college was in that you attended? All of those people. You learned to cross-country ski, or you picked up gardening over the summer. What have you learned? What obstacles have you overcome to get where you are today? And what lessons have you learned from some of those mistakes? This is a biggie. You can list 2 or 3 or 20. It's about starting to, again, connect between the accomplishments and how you got there, what you do and what you love and why. and getting in touch with some of the detail behind those pieces. What professional organizations are you associated with, and in what ways? Are you, do you sit on a board? Do you volunteer with a group? Do you hold any offices? Do you attend conventions or trade shows? What did you get out of it? Why do you do it? How does it plug into those other parts of you? What are you doing that you're putting out in the world? All of those questions together connect into the how and the why that tell people who you really are. They'll weave into stories that you can share. It takes a little practice to work them into a conversation, and I'll show you some examples or share with you some examples. But when you do, you become so much more memorable, so much more fun for people to talk to because you seem so interesting. And when you do have accomplishments or achievements that you'd like to get some recognition for, it's so much more comfortable to start to talk about them because you already have that sort of joie de vivre to share information about yourself and talk it up. So one of the keys to putting these stories together is to add detail. The details make you memorable, but they also make you relatable. So when you use, for instance, the what was it about your education that made an impression upon you? What was your takeaway? And you say, you know what, I went to Amherst and I fell in love with Michigan. Yeah, I have a degree in psychology or English literature. Who would have thought I got a degree in English literature from Amherst? What do I do with that? Well, I met the love of my life and I'll live the rest of my life in Michigan. That's a much more interesting story than I just have a degree in English lit. Everybody can relate to having found the love of their life or a love in college. And that helps them connect with you. You can add pieces to your stories. It doesn't have to only be about you. You can say quotations, statistics, and if you're vying for a promotion, statistics are wonderful to use. You can use anecdotes, quotations. You can throw in things like one of my favorites. I was a modern dance major in college as well as graphic design. And I love the quote by the famous modern dancer, Martha Graham, who said, "Love me or hate me, but have an opinion." Engage the senses in your stories whenever you have that opportunity. If you can say things like the Amherst story, and I fell in love with Michigan, and I'll always remember the smell of autumn and the leaves falling. It brings it all back to me this time of the year. Wow, now they're really plugged in with you because now they're starting to picture themselves there too. And we know scientifically that the way memories stick is through emotion. And the key to triggering emotion is through senses. So if you can use those in your descriptions, what things smelled like, they felt like, the taste of something, all of that goes into helping to make the memory sticky for someone. Now, as odd as this sounds, I want you to formalize this. Give yourself a couple of hours, write down all of the answers to those questions, and put it someplace you can find it. A computer file, make a physical binder, and organize them into things like, this is a good tidbit for a cover letter. Or I could work that into a little elevator pitch. Or, for instance, my Rotary Club, they have these little 3-minute introductions that they'll say, come on up and tell us about yourself in 3 minutes or less. Maybe you've got some stories that would work really well for that kind of situation. But you also might think about them in terms of, oh, this would be great if I have to talk to the press about my company. Or it's a good one for a speech opener when you have to talk to the next trade association or you're pitching a new client. Also, this isn't a static exercise. Once you've gone through this, you'll actually find that other memories or other things will pop into your mind. You may find that you have what you think are your 5 personality pluses. You've kind of worked those into your narrative, only to then discover, people keep saying how incredibly organized I am. I never really thought of that, but I guess maybe that's a personality plus. These will change. Keep them up to date. You'll have new accomplishments, new things that you're proud of. Weave them into your stories. So let's look at a couple of examples, because I know this gets a little mind-boggling. And I've picked these up. In fact, much of this is inspired by a book that I picked up. This is 20 years old. It's called Brag, The Art of Tooting Your Own Horn Without Blowing It. And those 12 questions are right from this book. And it's brilliant. For 20 years, I've been following this, and I'm happy to get to share it with you today. These are some example stories from that book. The first one, these are sort of little, hi, my name is kind of introductions, but it's an ability to just take them to the next level. This guy says, hi, I'm Ed, I'm a biochemist. I'm the kid who got a chemistry set for Christmas at age 6 and never stopped playing with it. Now I do research for one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. It's much better than saying, hi, my name is Ed. I'm a research chemist at Dow or DuPont. That's kind of dull. But I can picture him playing with a chemistry set. Here's another one. Hi, I'm Dan. I'm one of those rocket scientists everyone makes jokes about. I work on the space program for NASA. You may not be able to say you work for NASA, but you're getting the idea. You might try a little 1-minute introduction. Here's an example. This is from a woman who works at a university. She says, well, as the presidential attaché at a large university, I'm constantly in front of people, talking to them, putting people together, making visitors feel welcome. So it's essential that I be outgoing and friendly. The university's president, in fact, nicknamed me Den Mother the first week of work because he said I was so good at caring for other people. Then she goes on, she could stop there, or she could take pieces of that at any point. But she goes on and says, my mom says I've been like this since preschool. I was always the person in charge of planning social events. So now instead of setting up slumber parties or proms, I'm in charge of arranging high-level meetings with trustees, politicians, foreign diplomats, and dignitaries. Cool. Performance reviews are a huge opportunity to talk yourself up. It's expected, but it also takes some skill and an ability to do it the right way. It's especially difficult now when some companies are really struggling. And you may know that you've done well in spite of it all, and that you deserve to be one of the ones still employed and maybe even promoted. Here's how one person handled it. I know the firm is suffering and everyone is going to take a hit, but I feel really good about my business and how hard I've worked over the last 3 years and how well it's paying off. This year, I was able to bring in my 2 largest clients after a year and a half of nurturing the deals, and my revenues are up 20%. Now that's great at any time, but it's even more so now that the markets are down as much as they are. Also, I really took your advice, which is always nice to reference the other person. I took your advice at my last performance review to heart and have been more active in the firm. I have organized monthly breakfasts for our business referrals so they can learn about our new products. And that's been very well received. The division head just sent me an email thanking me for my efforts. For all these reasons, I think I'm ready for the vice president title and would like to see a bonus that reflects my accomplishments despite the dismal state of affairs. And finally, there are going to be times when you're finding it difficult to brag about yourself because you don't feel very brag worthy. And that's especially hard when you get in those situations where somebody says, maybe you're out of work. And they say, so what are you doing these days? And you've got to come up with an answer. And here's how one person responded. She said, I was a bookkeeper for 10 years and took time off to deal with some health problems, which fortunately have been resolved. Although I'm not sure what to do next, whether to go backpacking or bookkeeping, I'm ready to consider other possibilities. And it's been great having this time off to do it. I've been able to really throw myself into, more than ever, into my true passion, which is gardening. And I'm even thinking about ideas for how to combine my love of plants with a new career. Completely genuine, not blowing smoke at anybody, but also not discounting the fact that she's not working right now. A few tips as you're putting together your stories. Don't assume that someone already knows everything about you. They probably don't. So weave those bits about you into your narratives as you talk about yourself and you do introductions. I still have it happen. Even among my staff when we're in meetings, I'll say something and somebody will turn and go, you did? I didn't know you did that. But timing is everything. When you're about to talk yourself up, read the room. That's the point when a genuine offering of yourself and telling your truth can come off sounding more like bragging, is when you just haven't read the room right. And people are in a difficult situation. Maybe they don't want to hear everything's great. Just be sensitive. Be sensitive to where people are. And along that same line, personalize each story. Personalize it to the person you're telling it to. If you happen to know they love winter sports, then it's ideal for you to say, oh yeah, last winter I picked up cross-country skiing. Oh my gosh, so fun. And wow, so much work. I had no idea that it would be such a workout, but I am loving it and anxious to get back to it this winter. So think through the opportunities you have in your life to tell your story and toot your own horn. Job interviews, performance reviews, Zoom meetings. And I want to say right now, Zoom meetings more than ever, because they can't see what you're doing. They can only hear what you're saying. So getting this technique down is more important than ever. And of course, networking. Someday we'll be able to do that face-to-face again. But even in situations like this, where you have an opportunity to bump into someone virtually, it's all the more important that you have a story you can share. Voicemail, wow. Anybody in sales knows how deadly it feels to have to leave a voicemail to a sales prospect. But having some of these techniques down is crucial to getting a call back and having a warm reception when you do reach back out to them. But remember, it's not only what you say verbally, it's also what you write. These same stories can work their way into your written dialogues, cover letters and resumes, your proposals, emails, and social media. Anybody who follows LinkedIn knows it's one big opportunity of brag fest. Work on it and use it there. It's a great place for it. It's a very receptive audience for sharing the good things that are happening in your world right now. So tell me about you. What are your questions? I'm going to stop sharing and I can see your questions and chats better then too. Questions from anyone? Seeing none.
I think we're all thinking and processing all those tips that you gave us, which is just fantastic.
Well,
I like
fabulous.
We do have a question about any examples of voicemails. And Vivian, I may ask, is this when you are leaving a voicemail for a prospect? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You know, again, it's going to depend on two things. Who you're leaving it to, because we need to personalize it to them, and what it is, the impression you're trying to leave. So if you go back to that original slide of what impression are you trying to make, what's your time frame for that, and what do you have to work with, and then ultimately who is the receiver on the other end, that's going to tell you how to structure it. So if it's, I'm going to just use an example because I think that's what you're looking for here. Let's pretend that it's a company sales prospect in manufacturing. They buy parts from your company, or you're hoping they do. And you've done a little research, which I'm sure you have in sales, to know where their needs are. We're going to pretend that in this scenario, the client on the other end, or the client prospect on the other end, we know that delivery time is one of their biggest issues, or at least we suspect that's the case. So when you call and you have to leave a voicemail and you say, hi, hey, sorry I've missed you. This is Vivian with XYZ Company. So sorry I've missed you. I just want to reach out and let you know that we're offering our parts right now on a 1-day turn of shipping and have special terms available for new clients. One thing I want you to know about me is that I've been in this business for 15 years and have a lifelong reputation of meeting client deadlines. So when I tell you that we're going to ship within a day, you have my personal guarantee that's the case. You've told a little bit about yourself in the voicemail that helps back up what you've said before. You can use statistics. You can say things like, we're offering same-day shipping, and you'll be glad to know that we have a 97% delivery rate for that. The only times that it doesn't come through is, only time it didn't come through was the derecho or something. Let's see, we've got another question. Hello, Marianne. Wonderful to see you. What are you seeing as trending or changing in regard to gender differences? Oh my gosh. Yes, I actually did a talk about this to the West Des Moines Chamber. Women in particular have a hard time tooting our own horn. We don't want to be perceived as being boastful. Yes, it's very difficult, but all the more reason why you need to just practice it. And if you make the lists from those 12 things, you're going to find you actually do have some things to say. And it feels so much more genuine. You just trust me on that one. There are some perceptions around it, and just be aware that if you are feeling that, try to address it and face it. Let's see, we've got another one here where we're working our website. Oh, wonderful, yay, that's fabulous. How could these 12 questions help when drafting a cold sales letter or asking clients for referrals? Yeah, those are very different letters. Oh, wow. You know, I think anytime in a cold sales letter, even asking referrals too, completely different things, because of course you're working with somebody who doesn't know you and someone who does very well, is to be relatable and to be relevant. So anything that you can say in those sales letters that is relatable in terms of, I understand where you are, Mrs. Prospect, because of fill in the blank, or here's who I am, Mrs. Prospect, and it has enough detail and enough story to it that someone says, oh, you're a likable person, and is relevant in terms of why they should know you right now. That's going to help your cold sales letter. The same process is true on the referral side. It needs to be relevant and it needs to be relatable. And you can personalize it so much more because you know who it's going to. Make sense? Good.
Sally, I'm wondering about Zoom. How do you have any tips on how we can be more relatable? So many of us spend so much time on Zoom in this virtual setting, right? And it's difficult to make those real connections that we can do in person. But for now, this is a substitute for a lot of us. So
exactly.
What are your thoughts there?
Exactly. Well, I think the situation with the Zoom, one of the situations with Zoom that I have found is we as humans take so much information, as much information as we're given in. And all you have in Zoom is this frame. And so it's important to start to pay attention to what's in it when you're on the screen. How are you presented? If you're working a virtual background, how effective is that? I have seen some really strange, creepy things happen with virtual backgrounds. This is my actual office. You all will get to see it. This is my cat sleeping on my couch. Pixel, come say hello to everyone. Oh, hello. This is one of the ways we're relatable. He's such an old black cat that his ears are actually turning gray. He's graying. So relatable in terms of being authentic, relevant in terms of being thoughtful about what you're saying and where you are, what the point is, and then sharing your genuine self in terms of some true stories as to who you are and what you think might be interesting to somebody else.
Love it. And I do think that moment you just had there is one of those things that makes us all very relatable when you have a child run through your background or someone else in the home, or, you know, those little things that don't go right. They make you much more human these days, and we all can appreciate that. Well, I'm not seeing any additional questions, and which times out just beautifully. So I do want to thank Sally for sharing her expertise, and thanks to all of you for hopping in on this session this morning. We do have a few more on the docket this morning. So in the chat, you'll see that Christina has dropped in the links to those. If you're attending the session about delegation and prioritization, that's actually this room, so you can stay put. And if you are attending the HR Department of One session, that is, you'll want to grab that link there and take the passcode as well, just to be safe. And then there's another session after that as well before we head into a closing keynote. So those again are all in the chat, so we'll leave that up for a few minutes. But again, thank you. Again, for Sally for sharing her expertise. These will be recorded as well, so you can go back, and if you need to pull that list again that she shared with us, some really great tips there. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you at the next session.